Oh my god! When I'm talking about Nintendo Switch 2 second edition, I'm talking about the games.
Lifu secretly a rat VTuber disguised as a fox? No.
No, I'm not gonna be a rat VTuber. I'm pretty happy with being a fox, even though being a fox is not original anymore. Okay. Did you guys know that they released Nintendo Switch 2 Nintendo Switch 2 second edition already?
Really? It's not even been that long.
Yeah, they dropped this trailer 2 days ago.
Crazy.
Nintendo Switch 2 Nintendo Switch 2 second edition. God damn it. Why is this so hard to pronounce it? But yeah, new one is off and they switched off the comments. I don't know why.
Oh,
Comments are switched off.
kinda sus.
So, I don't even know if I should risk watching the trailer. Maybe without audio?
Maybe that might have to be.
But yeah, like Nintendo has been lately like copyright claiming even the visuals of their advertisement.
Really?
Yeah, Nintendo has been pretty going pretty hard with our channel. But it's very suspicious that they switched off the comments. But I might just play this video. What even is a Nintendo Switch 2 edition? Okay, this is like 2 weeks
Know
ago.
the answer to what's the meaning of life? Why did Splatoon 3 get a free update and Xenoblade X was paid? Folks, I kind of just want to talk about the inconsistencies of Switch 1 games that get the update to Switch 2.
Oh, just to clarify, when I'm talking about Nintendo Switch 2 second edition, I'm talking about the games. I did realize I was very misleading with what I was saying.
Oh.
It's basically like re-releasing games.
Yeah.
And how absolutely none of this makes any goddamn sense, alright? So let's go over some of this. So Nintendo wanted to make this as simple as possible. If this is a Switch 1 game that comes over to Switch 2 and gets enhancements, okay,
You have to pay full price again.
going to label it all
That's
as
crazy.
I was confused. I thought they were releasing a new version of the console already. They will be soon, though. They will be soon.
Nintendo Switch 2 edition. And then
But yeah, that's why I corrected myself because how I said it was very misleading.
make sure you know this is the Switch 2 version of the game. On the box art, not only do you get the big fat ass Switch 2 header, not only do you get Switch 2 edition under the logo, then you also have to have this block of text at the bottom with a QR code just in case Nintendo doesn't want to get sued by somebody who was confused. I don't know. So why do you have to label this as Nintendo Switch 2 edition if you can already clearly see the fact that this game is on Switch 2? Because, you know, it has the Switch 2 logo on the case. Well, it turns out
Like,
anything
why?
that is labeled as a Switch 2 edition can also play
Oh, no,
on
that's so
Switch 1.
weird.
That's the whole point of this subtitle, which
What?
I don't think that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so let me get this
It
right.
doesn't.
Any game that is labeled as Nintendo Switch 2 Edition has a base Nintendo Switch 1 Edition. So the Nintendo Switch 2 Edition is the Nintendo Switch 2 build of the game that cannot exist.
Okay.
Imagine like so you already have these games for Nintendo Switch 1, right? But you buy them for a Switch 2, pay full price, and you get like the Nintendo Switch 2 and 1. I'll be so pissed. Why are they doing that? Like the ones from Nintendo Switch 1 should be capable connecting to the Switch 2.
Mm-hmm.
Did they? I don't think they changed the cartridge, did they? Plus, it's all bro. No, hold up. Fuck the cartridges. Fuck that. You connect your Nintendo store. You should be that. Oh, the more I think about it, the more I process it in my head, the more I'm like, hold up, wait a minute.
Wait a minute, sir. This don't make sense.
You can literally like all the games are linked to your Nintendo account if you log in.
Right?
And
Yeah.
usually for majority of the stuff you need to log in.
Right?
So the Switch 1 stuff should be able to play on Switch 2. Why would they re-release with the because the enhancements are barely there. Okay, my brain. Okay,
exist if the game wasn't already on Nintendo Switch 1. Thus, if you buy a Nintendo Switch 2 edition of a game, you can insert that game into your Switch 1 and the Switch 1 version will play. You insert it into a Switch 2, the Switch 2 version will play. But Nintendo themselves doesn't want to mention this at all. I remember trailers for Pokemon Legends ZA, Metroid Prime 4. At the very end of those trailers, they make it very clear. They are saying, hey, make sure you buy the right version of the game. The Switch 1 game can only play on Switch 1s. The Switch 2 game can only play on Switch 2s. Don't f*** it up.
The Nintendo Switch 2 edition of the game can be played on a Switch 2. Please be sure to purchase the game edition that matches your system.
Hell, even after they
Nintendo hella cheats their customers, and this is why they're going through a class action lawsuit for cheating their customers over tariffs. Which, by the way, for people who don't know, Nintendo Switch 2, Nintendo Switch 2, Nintendo has upped their prices in US due to tariffs. People bought it. Then Nintendo got a government refund for the tariffs, but they already took the extra money from the customers. I think at least I think the lawsuit was in US, right?
Probably. It should be in the US if that's the case. Or it might have been like some other country.
I'm double checking. I'd rather not lie. US,
Okay.
yes. It is US. I just wanted to double check. But yeah,
Okay.
class action lawsuit going on for cheating their customers.
Dude, that's grimy.
Money. Sony also going through lawsuits because of greed. Oh yeah, we'll be getting to Sony today too. Yeah.
initially announced
super-
Switch 2 edition,
That's greedy.
there
Yeah,
was some
you're right.
misinformation going around where Nintendo representatives were saying like, oh, Switch 2 editions of something like Zelda at retail, the retail copies will just be the Switch 1 game card with a download code for the Switch 2 upgrade pack, which would have been lame as hell, but I thought that made perfect sense. Like, I wouldn't have liked that, but it's also like, okay, well, that makes economical sense, I guess. But no, it's way
Does
cooler
it?
than that. It's literally a game card that works on both Switch 1 and 2. Now, as much as I'm saying that, I've never taken advantage of that, and I'm sure most people that say, like, wow, that's cool, have also never taken advantage of that, but it's kind of a neat thing that it's possible. Now, the fact that Switch 2 editions do that and can play on both consoles means that a Switch 2 edition, theoretically, I do not think could.
Wasn't Nintendo also like recently going like, "Oh, look at us, guys! We finally stopped bricking your consoles. Like, good job, us."
Yeah, they're kind of. They don't read the room.
They really don't.
Be a game key card, because game key cards, well, it's pretty much just telling your console, hey, you have access to the license of this game, you can download it. And the Switch 1 doesn't run game key cards, so yeah, if there's a Switch 2 edition, it needs to be all on the cartridge, except for Civilization 7. To my knowledge, this is the only
What?
Nintendo Switch 2 edition out at retail that is just a download code in the box, which I
Bro,
think
s-
is
everything is gonna be a download code by the end of this year.
Yes.
just awful. What I ended up doing here was just buying the Nintendo Switch 1 version of the game and then buying the Switch 2 edition upgrade pack on the eShop, because like nothing's worse than a code in the box. At least now, like, okay, well, I own a physical copy of Civilization 7, and either way, like, the Switch 2 edition upgrade would have been DLC anyway, so it's just like, who the hell cares? Yeah, this is the best possible way to do this. But yes, even though Civ 7 Nintendo Switch 2 edition, the way they went about it is kinda stinky, at least, hey, we know what a Switch 2 edition is. It's basically an upgrade pack to a Nintendo Switch 1 game, and when you get a Nintendo Switch 2
Do
edition,
people actually play Civ on Nintendo? I never in my life heard someone go, "Oh, cannot wait to get back home and play Civ on my Nintendo."
Yeah, why do that when you could just use a PC?
No, I always heard only like the PC crowd playing Civ. It might be just like my bubble of interactions.
Maybe.
of a game it'll still play on Switch 1. Like, yeah, even if you get the Nintendo Switch 2 edition of Civilization 7 and it's downloadable only, you can still download Civ 7 from your Nintendo account on your Switch 1. So it maintains the tradition of a Nintendo Switch 2 edition. But the weird thing is, there's a fair amount of Nintendo Switch 1 games that got free updates to run better on Switch 2. Whether that's outputting at a higher resolution, or running at a higher frame rate, or straight up adding things to the game. So Game Builder Garage got mouse control support, Clubhouse Games got game share functionality, Super Mario Odyssey got a resolution boost,
Okay.
Pokemon Scarlet and Violet are playable now, and damn,
Yeah, that's what you want to hear as a Pokemon fan. That's what you want to hear as a Pokemon fan.
It's just playable now.
It's
Yeah.
playable. What else do you want? It's playable. Eat it up. Yum, yum, yum.
Yum, yum,
and these are
yum.
free updates, so that must mean the paid Nintendo Switch 2 editions of games are just far and
Well,
beyond.
I would hope that the game being playable would be free update.
Yeah.
And yes, I'm being dramatic.
Leagues better. No, more for them. No. The line is incredibly blurry here, but generally it seems like these Switch 2 free updates for these Switch 1 games seem to be, some of them run at a higher resolution, some of them have higher frame rates, but there's not really any major new content added in these things. Even mentioning stuff like, mouse controls in Game Builder Garage and game share functionality in Clubhouse Games. Like, they added those to those games, sure, but it's not like all of these other games got mouse controls and higher frame rates and higher resolution. Like, it kind of feels like they picked and choose maybe one or two.
And I might sound nitpicky. I don't think people go play Switch games for high resolution. That's coming from someone who did play Switch games, Switch 1. Same as Zen, he plays Switch 1 games. Actually, I took his Switch.
We share. What are you talking about?
Yeah. But you don't necessarily go to Switch to play high-res games. You will go there
No.
for like the specific games that release only on Switch, not on PC.
Of these things to add to these games, and that was about it. And even then, these games aren't like massive, gigantic improvements, maybe outside of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, but something like Mario Odyssey, yeah, it looks very nice now at a higher resolution, and they fixed some weird little frame rate.
By the way, I am legally blind, so I don't really see much of a difference. Like, I see the difference, but it's not like enough of a difference to justify buying a Switch 2 version. It really isn't. You cannot gaslight me into thinking that this is worth it.
This is motion blur off on the left and motion blur on.
Yeah.
Or vice versa. I mean.
Yeah. So
Sorry.
this is it with sharpening on.
Yeah.
Issues, like the humans in New Donk City animating at a lower frame rate. But for the most part, while it is a very nice update, I feel like something like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are far more transformative. Like going from the sub 30 frames per second at times of those games and the 720p, 900p, whatever resolution on Nintendo Switch 1 to 4K 60 frames per second.
Like, I don't see the difference.
On Switch 2.
It just doesn't justify it at all.
And I played Breath of the Wild on Switch 1. And I've seen my friend play Breath of the Wild on Switch 2. I really don't see the difference. Like, he was streaming, right? And I was, like, asking him questions, like, is there really a noticeable difference? And by the way, he's a huge Nintendo fan. Huge Nintendo fan. He literally calls himself, Nintendo soy, something Nintendo soy.
Yeah, something
Yeah.
like that.
And like, even he's like, yeah, there's like barely any difference.
It's definitely a much more transformative experience. Plus, they added Zelda notes to that game. Which, who the f cares? But still, it does
What
feel like
is
the
that?
Zelda Switch 2 editions are meatier than the Switch 2 free updates. The free updates are kind of just like, hey, let's kind of clean a couple of these games up to run and look better on Switch 2, or maybe take advantage of some unique features on Switch 2. And hell, even with Game Builder Garage, utilizing the Joy-Con 2 mouse in that game technically already had a USB mouse support, so it's kind of just adding an extra little controller option to that game, so it's nothing that crazy. Plus, when you boot up one of these Switch 1 games with a free Switch 2 update, they still say Nintendo Switch on the little loading screen. But when you boot up the Nintendo Switch 2 edition of Breath of the Wild, for example, it does say Nintendo Switch 2. So I guess a Nintendo Switch 2 edition is a full-on Nintendo Switch 2 game, whereas these Switch 1 games with a free Switch 2 update, they're still Nintendo Switch 1 games, but they threw in a little bonus for if you're playing on Switch 2. And this isn't unprecedented. There were a couple of Game Boy Color games that gave you exclusive little features if you played them on a Game Boy Advance, like Shantae and Wendy Every Which Way. Zelda Oracle of Seasons and Ages also had exclusive features, but I wanted to mention Wendy Every Which Way. But yeah, those games are still Game Boy Color games, but they give you some extra little things on the Game Boy.
I'm very curious to hear from other people. Are you buying Switch 2 versions? Are you planning to buy Nintendo Switch 2 versions? Are you planning to buy Nintendo Switch 2? Have you bought Nintendo Switch 2? What do you do with it?
Boy Advance.
You play old games on it.
Yeah.
But there was nothing stopping the developers from making native Game Boy Advance versions of the game that would have taken more advantage of the Game Boy Advance hardware. But instead, those games were still Game Boy Color games with some cute little Game Boy Advanced added features to them. And that's what I think these Switch 1 games with Switch 2 updates are in comparison to the Switch 2 editions of games, which are full-on Nintendo Switch 2 games. And I think it makes perfect sense to denote what a Nintendo Switch 2 edition is, if that means you are gonna...
I just don't see myself justifying getting a Switch 2. I'd rather get like the overpriced, stupidly overpriced RAM for my PC. It's gonna cost the same. Upgrading my RAM or a Switch 2.
I'd rather just upgrade my RAM at that point.
Yeah.
Get a high-quality Nintendo Switch 2 exclusive version of the game compared to a Switch 1 game with a free update. One problem, that's not the fucking case, okay? What the hell is going on here? A lot of third parties have Nintendo Switch 2 editions of their Switch 1 games, but they're completely free, which, you know, hey, I'll take it, but, okay, well, what are we doing here? I would have assumed the point of labeling something as a Nintendo Switch 2 edition of a game is so then there is absolutely no confusion involved. But why does it matter if people are confused if the upgrade pack is free? It's free. Why do we have to denote it's the Nintendo Switch 2 edition of the game?
Yeah,
just release
that
the
is
game.
weird.
just put Hollow Knight Silksong on Switch 2. That's all you need to do. And then if somebody has...
It kind of feels like give me my pat on the back and a cookie.
I want a cookie.
Okay.
How y'all doing today?
I did want to read. No, my brother has one. I don't have a Switch. I still use my DS. I got it for Donkey Kong and Star Fox. Damn. I can load that. I get Switch 2 version if they exist. And no to all of that. I used to like Nintendo, but years of scummy practices don't bring me in anymore. I don't see myself getting a Switch 2 at the moment. I'll only go over to my brother just to play Zelda and 007 GoldenEye. Yeah, buy Switch 2 editions if I don't already own the Switch 1 version. That makes sense. Like, that makes sense buying the Switch 2 versions if you don't have the first one. That makes sense.
It makes sense, but wouldn't it be wouldn't it be full price instead of like the discount that they, usually do?
They don't do discounts unless you order from like a third party.
Oh shoot, you're
Yeah.
right. Oh no.
The only way you get like discounts is literally third parties, because when Nintendo does sales is like maximum 10%. They really don't do it that often. If Nintendo isn't about being easy to take with on car travels and interact easily with other users that ain't experienced. I want from Nintendo, though some people are after that golden SNES era still. Like I wanna be so badly one of the people who can get into handheld games. But besides like Animal Crossing, I just don't see myself playing other games on Switch or like handheld in general. I
Yeah.
just prefer playing games on PC. I did try Overwatch on Switch. I tried some Pokemon games on Switch. I tried some RPG games on Switch. And I think Dauntless as well. It was Dauntless that I tried, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it just Overwatch felt really weird on Switch.
I played I think I played a mobile on Switch and it was really bad.
Yeah. So yeah, I just when it comes to Switch games, I'm in it for mostly like games like Animal Crossing.
Mhm.
And even that I'm kind of over it. Maybe I should fire up the our Switch and start playing Animal Crossing.
Maybe. I mean, why not, right? Not losing anything.
Yeah, fair, fair, fair.
Had the Switch 1 version, and they were like, I have a Switch 2 now, and I want to play Hollow Knight Silk Song at a better frame rate and better resolution. Well, just download the upgrade pack for free. But okay, I guess these kind of follow the mindset that I had earlier of like, okay, something labeled as a Switch 2 edition. They wanted to, so then like, oh, you can just upgrade to that if you own the Switch 1 game, but you upgrade to what is essentially a brand new Nintendo Switch 2 official version. It's a new build of the game specifically for the Switch 2. What the was Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D then? That game got a free update for the Switch 2, which, yeah,
Okay.
that's cool. Basically makes it on par.
I want to buy the Dragon Quest one though, but for PC, not Switch. I did get into Dragon Quest and Octopath. By the way, thank you guys for pushing me into them. I feel like while playing them, I feel like I missed out on something. Like in a sense of I wish I got earlier into those franchise, specifically Octopath and Dragon Quest. That's the one regret I have with Nintendo stuff. I wish I got earlier into those two games.
Well, you're in them now.
Yeah, I know.
With the PS5 version of the game. That's massive. You're telling me that's not a Nintendo Switch 2 official build of the game? Okay, but like, I'm just a little confused. But the fact that was released by Square Enix, and that's just a free update. But then you have Final Fantasy Tactics, which is a Switch 1 game that launched simultaneously on Switch 2. But if you had the Switch 1 version, you could do a free update to the Nintendo Switch 2 edition. However, Square Enix also released Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D on both Switch 1 and Switch 2.
Oh.
What?
It's not a Switch 2 edition, though. Hell, you can't even transfer your fucking save data between the two versions.
Oh.
So, they never released a Switch 2 edition of Dragon Quest 3, but they gave it a free update to run perfectly on Switch 2. But then they did a Switch 2 edition of Final Fantasy Tactics, but then they didn't do a Switch 2 edition of Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D. And there's a lot
My brain. Oh, my brain hurts.
of Switch 2 games that come out that are better versions of Switch 1 games, but are not labeled as Nintendo Switch 2 editions and are basically full price. You just have to straight up buy them again. You can't transfer anything. They are fundamentally completely separate from the Switch 1 version of the game. You have something like Sonic Cross Shadow Generations. That was available at the Switch 2 launch. Just what, like 7 months after that game released on Switch 1? Instead of giving you a free update, hell, even just like an upgrade pack for $10. No, you had to buy that fucking game again for $50 damn.
What?
And then I guess Sega learned their lesson because Sonic Racing Cross Worlds released on Switch 2, and that was a full game on the cartridge, and that was just a straight up Switch 2 edition. So if you bought the Switch 1 game, then you could just upgrade to the Switch 2 edition for like $10. But then they released Sonic Frontiers Definitive Edition, which completely just sidelines all the Switch 2 edition shit. That game is fundamentally a Switch 2 edition, but they don't call it that. They just call it Definitive Edition. What's definitive about it? Oh, well, it includes all of the updates to the game. just off the bat, which I don't understand. All of the updates to the game were completely free. I guess it would have been nice if, like, oh, the entire game was.
That is scummy.
That is very scummy. What the hell, dude?
Wait, when people are talking about like Sega and stuff like that, no one brings this up, by the way. Because this is not Nintendo doing, this is a Sega doing.
Yeah.
On the cartridge, and all of the updates just come baked on. But no, that game is a goddamn game key card, so it's just like, that doesn't fucking matter. I have to download the game anyways. Why does it matter? Oh, the game comes baked in with all the free updates. I assume they did not do Switch 2 editions for those two Sonic games because they did not want to shell out the money for a full game on the cartridge. But they probably also didn't want to do a code in the box like with Civilization 7, so they decided to go the game key card route, and that's why Sonic Cross Shadow Generations is not labeled as Nintendo Switch 2 edition, because you can't make a Nintendo Switch 2 edition on a game key card. But then I guess they didn't want to include like absolutely any upgrade path for people who own Sonic Frontiers on Switch 1 at all, so that's why they just labeled Sonic Frontiers on Switch 2 as
God damn it.
Definitive Edition. Then you have Yakuza Kiwami, which was the only Yakuza game released on Switch 1, seemingly kind of as a test run to see if the Yakuza series
No, it was a test run to see if it will even work.
could do well on a Nintendo platform, because the first test run they did was an HD remaster of Yakuza 1 and 2 on the Wii U only in Japan, and that didn't do well because guess
Yeah, because who's gonna play Yakuza on a Wii? Like, what kind of games did you play on a Wii?
Call of Duty.
You played that on a
And-
Wii?
Yeah. Resident Evil 4. They're actually really good.
Am I the only
Like-
one who only liked Wii for Wii Sports?
Well, you're a nerd, so.
Mean. No, like for me, I always thought, okay, Wii is for like those sports goofy games, right? That's what the Wii is for.
I'm a child.
Who the hell plays those games on a Wii?
A lot of people. I heard a lot of people, and I've seen people bought the Wii specifically just for Resident Evil.
What?
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
What the hell? You guys are weird.
Honey, you have to see the gameplay of it. It's unironically really good.
Wait, to be fair, didn't people buy PlayStation 4 just for Spider-Man?
Yes.
I mean, fair enough. I can confirm that Resident Evil worked well on the Wii. They put 0 and 1 remake on the Wii. God dang it.
It was really good. Like, actually really good.
So am I the only one who literally pigeonholed themselves with like Wii Sports?
Yes. You were missing out quite a bit.
God dang it. Well, what was I doing?
Esports?
God dang it.
guess what? But yeah, they put out Yakuza Kiwami 1 on Switch 1, and then they put out a bunch of the Yakuza games on Switch 2, including Yakuza Kiwami 1, which is just a Switch 2 game. It is not a Switch 2 edition. There's no upgrade path. Well, let's be fair here. If you already own the Switch 1 version of Yakuza Kiwami, you get a discount on the Switch 2 version of the game. That's it. Which, I mean, it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
But here's the
Yeah.
thing. I own the physical copy of Yakuza Kiwami for Switch 1 from
I have almost every single Yakuza game on Steam.
Hell yeah.
So, miss me with buying Switch version.
Limited Run Games. And those physical copies are not included in this at all. And that's primarily because Limited Run Games distributed and produced those physical copies. Sega is like, those don't count. Feels like Sega's always kind of struggled with Switch 1 to Switch 2 upgrades. I mean, even with Puyo Puyo Tetris 2, the fact that they just farted out a Switch 2 version of that at the Switch 2's launch and just called it Puyo Puyo Tetris 2S, and there was like no upgrade path, and there really wasn't much reason to own that over Puyo Puyo Tetris 2. I'm like, what are we doing here? But then we have
Nothing
even
good.
more weird ones, like Hogwarts Legacy on Switch 1 and 2. Now, the
Ooh,
Switch
I
1 version
wanna,
of that game,
I wanna replay Hogwarts Legacy very badly. I already said this before. Whatever game doesn't get picked first, we will do it next. So even though I'm gonna be doing Atomic Heart first, I will be doing Hogwarts next. And yes, I already played Hogwarts, and I'll do it again. So yeah, I'll do it again.
is kind of weird because they definitely had to cut back a lot of stuff in that game. Like, instead of an open world, there's certain segments where the game has to kind of like fade in and out, so it's not as open as the traditional PlayStation and Xbox versions. So the Switch 2 version is pretty different in that regard, but somehow they made it work. You can upgrade from the Switch 1 version to the Switch 2 version, but it's really randomly hidden. I don't understand why. So you have to boot up the game, and then you can select an option that says activate the Switch 2 discount. It takes you to the eShop, and you see a free download screen exclusively here that you download there, and then you can access a $10 upgrade fee for Hogwarts Legacy on Switch 2. And then that will
Why?
just straight up download the
so
Switch 2
weird.
version of Hogwarts Legacy. The entire fucking game.
Bro, I already have the deluxe edition of Hogwarts on my PC. Yes, I have the deluxe edition. Zen bought it for me for my birthday because it came out literally on my birthday on 10th of February. So I played the shit out of it with the deluxe edition. I don't fucking care what the fuck anyone is saying. They have nothing to do with the political bullshit. It's just I run around with a fucking stick and I'm a fucking wizard. Leave me the fuck alone. I accidentally zapped a cat there. I'm so sad. Bro, all I want to do is like make my little suitcase world with all the animals there. That's all I want. And run around with a stick and make everyone levitate. Like, leave me the fuck alone. Ah, Lifu is into the
Leave me the
dark
F
arts. No, I'm
alone.
a Hufflepuff, actually.
Last time I checked,
Shut up.
you were a Ravenclaw, but
No,
yeah.
no, 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 no. Yeah. So the game kept on trying to put me in Ravenclaw, so I got pissed. They put me into Slytherin, so I went and cheated and put myself in Hufflepuff. I want to be a Hufflepuff. In my soul, I know I'm not a Ravenclaw. I know I'm not a Slytherin. I know I'm a Hufflepuff. In my soul, I know it.
I feel like I'm a Ravenclaw. Oh wait, no, I got what's that one? The one that you wanted. Yeah, I got Hufflepuff first try.
I hate you.
I remember now.
Like, you don't need the game card for Hogwarts Legacy on Switch 1 anymore. So that's a strange loophole. The fact that you can literally just pop in Hogwarts Legacy on Switch 1 on your Switch 2, and then you can download the entirety of Hogwarts Legacy on Switch 2 to your system, and then you can just sell Hogwarts Legacy on Switch 1 at that point. You don't need it anymore. I don't know why they did that, and I don't know why you can still do that. They never took down this option. So you can completely upgrade Hogwarts Legacy from Switch 1 to Switch 2, and your save data transfers all over to all of that. I don't know why they don't just straight up call it the Switch 2 edition. Maybe because like it's fundamentally such a different game, because like, yeah, it's just the straight up.
And it still looks better on PC than Switch 2. Okay, I am trying. I am very trying not to compare the graphics quality to PC graphics quality. But you cannot sell it for like the price they are, like what, 500 to 600 for Switch 2?
You really can't.
Like, this is my gripe with Nintendo and Nintendo fans. The amount of copium, and this is coming from someone who has a Switch, who has a Switch. This is coming from someone who does play Nintendo games. Well, not anymore after the whole fiasco. But it's like, you cannot have this amount of cope. It just, I'm sorry, but PC gaming is genuinely better. It's better than consoles, it's better than handheld. And yes, I'm even lumping in Steam Deck. Like, Steam Deck is good for what it is, but you cannot replace PC gaming.
You can't. No, they're two different beasts.
But even if you compare like the Nintendo Switch and Steam Deck, right? Steam Deck
Right.
obviously wins because one, graphics, two, accessibility to all games outside of Nintendo. The accessibility part that you get with Steam Deck is just miles ahead of Nintendo. The amount of games you can play on your Steam Deck versus Nintendo is just two different universes. And not to mention that it runs on Linux and all the programs you can run on a Steam Deck. So yes, of course, to people who are so coping about Nintendo, I'm gonna sound like the biggest hater of Nintendo, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is, all I'm listing out is actual mechanical capabilities of those handhelds and the sheer variety and volume of the library. Have you ever tried playing the free games on Nintendo Switch versus the free games on Steam Deck? You cannot tell me it's one and the same, quality or variety wise.
It's all different. Like it, the magnitude of quality for games on PC is just better.
No, right now I'm just comparing them to like Steam Deck. It just like obviously for a fanboy I'm gonna sound like an absolute hater. But again, for me it's coming from someone who used to waste money on Nintendo as well. So take it for what you want.
Up like PlayStation
If people
and
think
Xbox
I'm a
versions
hater,
at that point.
let 'em.
The Switch 1 version, while it's still pretty much the same game, it is still quite a bit different overall structurally. So maybe it's too much of a distinctive difference to be considered the Nintendo Switch 2 edition of the game. But I don't know. I mean, like, you look at something like Mario Brothers Wonder Switch 2 edition, and they add a whole ass section to the map. Star-Crossed World adds a bunch of stuff, but I guess those are more additive, if anything. It's not like they fundamentally changed the overall gameplay experience. So I guess that's why Hogwarts Legacy isn't labeled as Nintendo Switch 2 Edition. But why the hell isn't Deltarune considered Nintendo Switch 2 Edition? That's just straight up on Switch 1 and Switch 2. And you
Damn.
can transfer the save data between the two. But, like, that's it. Like, what the fuck is the difference between the Switch 1 and Switch 2 versions of Deltarune? Especially when you have games like Hollow Knight getting a Nintendo Switch 2 edition, and Deltarune on Switch 2 is just pretty much...
Okay, so I have a theory why they make like the difference. It's because the developers did have to go back in, and make some changes in it, and that's why also the uptick in the difference and some stuff you have to pay for. That's
Yeah.
like my only guess.
a resolution difference. So why doesn't Deltarune get the Nintendo Switch 2 label, yet Hollow Knight does? Okay, well, I would assume Nintendo gets to tell you if you get to use the Nintendo Switch 2 edition label or not, which I find it strange that Deltarune doesn't have it because Deltarune shows up in Nintendo Directs all the time. Okay, so I guess it's Nintendo tells you can use it, and also if you yourself want to use it as the game developer slash publisher. And I assume all of these games that get the Nintendo Switch 2 edition label, they went to Nintendo and they were like, hey, can our Nintendo Switch 2 version of the game have the Nintendo Switch 2 edition label? And Nintendo goes, sure. I assume with something like Deltarune, they just didn't really give a shit. Hogwarts Legacy, it might have just been because there was too much of a structural difference between the two versions of the game.
Okay, I do see the big difference in graphics for Hogwarts though. But again, it still doesn't compare to what I'm used to playing Hogwarts in.
To actively label it as...
By the way, is the drama around Hogwarts finally over? Are people allowed to play Hogwarts finally without psychopaths going after them? Or are we still doing that?
I think we're still doing that.
Okay.
That's the Nintendo Switch 2 edition, but they still wanted to give you the option to upgrade to the Nintendo Switch 2 edition at a discount. And then something like Sonic Cross Shadow Generations, I assume they did not make it a Nintendo Switch 2 edition because they did not want to pay for the full game on a game cartridge, and they also didn't want to do a crummy little digital code in the box like Civilization 7 did. So they opted for it's just Sonic Cross Shadow Generations. That's it. There's no upgrade path, nothing, just on a game key card. That's just all they wanted to do. But then still, what the hell is Nintendo themselves really doing around here? You have something like Donkey Kong Country Returns HD, which gets a free update, which adds content like Dixie Kong as a playable character and a new Turbo Time Attack mode, along with Switch 2 enhancements like a better resolution.
You know, I was always surprised how many Donkey Kong fans are there. I never liked Donkey Kong, so like it always like, oh wow, there's a whole fan base. But yeah, no, I figured as much that the whole drama is not over yet, and it probably is gonna get worse when Hogwarts 2 drops. I'm gonna be
Yes.
playing it. Like, so, guys, prepare to go to battle when it happens, and you know shit is gonna happen. People are gonna be freaks about it. But like, I don't want that stopping us from enjoying Hogwarts too.
This is generally a good game.
Yeah, it just literally like you're running around doing some puzzles, having some like mid-tier battles. Like, come on, they're super easy. And just having fun. Like you're running around with a fucking stick collecting animals. Like it's not that deep.
Let me run around with my stick, dude.
Faster load times. But then Xenoblade Chronicles X gets a Switch 2 edition, which enhances the resolution. Not very well, mind you. But disregarding the quality of that upgrade, it fundamentally adds a better resolution and better frame rate. Donkey Kong Country Returns HD added a better resolution and faster load times. That was free. Xenoblade Chronicles X was $5. Now, $5 is $5. It's nothing that crazy. But still, I mean, I guess they're charging for this because, like, oh, it's resolution and frame rate. Donkey Kong, it's just kind of like, well, the game looks nicer and clearer on Switch 2. Load times are faster, but it's kind of like, I mean, like, that's just kind of like a bonus thing they threw in. I think Xenoblade Chronicles X, regardless of the upgrade being kind of half-assed, it's still like a bit more transformative. But then Animal Crossing New Horizons adds mouse controls, a higher resolution.
Oh.
That damn upgrade was also $5, which again, it's like, okay.
You see, I never zoomed into Animal Crossing. I remember once trying to play it on our TV, and I'm like, yeah, I'm good. It's weird playing it on the TV.
Dude, I can't see shit.
No, literally, I was lying in bed with the Animal Crossing on the TV. I'm like, what did he say? Like literally be lying there like, I don't see anything. Same thing happened with Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and 3. Damn.
$5, sure, whatever. But alongside that, they had a brand new free update with a bunch of new content. And you're charging me $20 extra for fucking Jamboree TV? Okay, the point is, it's all over the place how Switch 1 games decide to upgrade to Switch 2 games. And it's just kind of funny to see absolutely how insanely complicated things can be.
Can I just point it out how tidy his surrounding looks like? No RGB, natural light, wooden bookshelves, everything organized.
Is the green screen?
It is?
No, I was joking.
Holy
I'm
hell. You
pulling
see,
with
I
you.
would have fully believed
be
you.
at times. And I would say
Well, now I am thinking it's a green screen. Thanks, honey.
it's definitely pretty
No
funny
problem, honey.
considering I think Nintendo came up with the Nintendo Switch 2 edition name to make things as uncomplicated as possible. But then just created like Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, Nintendo Switch 2 edition. So what are
Bro,
you telling
okay, is it a green screen or is his head that square?
Honey, I think you're looking too into it.
You put those
It's not a
worms
green
in my
screen.
head.
It's not a green screen, honey.
You cannot put those worms in my head and then take it back.
I'll take it back.
telling
Okay.
me that means the original Definitive Edition is not the Definitive Edition? There's a Nintendo Switch 2 edition, so you might as well call it Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, Nintendo Switch 2 Edition, Definitive Edition. Oh my god, and then calling like Pokemon Legends ZA and Metroid Prime 4 on Switch 2, the Nintendo Switch 2 editions. Everywhere you look, you go on the title screen and it says that, and I'm just like, buddy, I bought this game on Switch 2. I only played it on Switch 2. It launched on Switch 2 and Switch 1 at the same time. Why do you have to constantly remind me that this is a Switch 1 game at its core? It launched simultaneously on both. It's just as much a Switch 2 game as it is a Switch 1 game. Why do I got this ugly-ass logo on the title screen I always gotta look at? Why doesn't the Switch 1 version of the game say Nintendo Switch
Wait,
1?
Mike said, yep, they'll try to cancel you for playing Hogwarts 2. Wait, I sense a growth from it. Play it.
Wait a minute. Hold on, lock in. Do it.
Mike is starting to think like a VTuber manager now.
He's like, wait a minute.
Yes,
I
Mike.
sense something in the force.
Use your tism for evil. Embrace the dark side. God damn it. Prime 4 sucked anyways. Well, damn. No, it actually did. It did. Everyone was so hyped for it until it dropped and everyone saw the game for what it is.
Garbage.
One edition all the time. Like, why
Why not?
But you know what, Nintendo? You have inspired me to label more things. So today, I'm labeled as Skawazniak, pissy fuckhead. Which
What
you get
the fuck?
I'm gonna start labeling myself like that. God Wozniak, pissy okay, I love just because of that, I love the channel. I love this. He doesn't take himself serious. He called himself out for being a pissy fuckhead. I love that. It's the same attitude me and Zen take as well. Like we call ourselves out whenever we're being like actual like kids. So I like this. I like this a lot.
Let him cook.
Yeah.
it for free, but yesterday I was actually Skawazniak, just pissy fuckhead, which is strangely enough $10 to see me be like that. It's the same thing.
Well, guys, you heard it here first. If you want me to be a pissy foxhead, that will be $10. Which you already
$10.
got it for free, but like, $10.